So we can start the July meeting, but before we actually formally go into the meeting, I'd like to welcome two new members, so to speak. One, Councillor McGrath. Heard this is your actual first meeting you've done on this is training, so you're very welcome. There are a couple of old hands here, I think, in terms of experience, not necessarily years, though they might say years, so you can follow their lead and see what happens. And also, officer here who's a replacement, and I'll leave it up to you in regard to the replacement for Darren, who's on holidays, of Adele Ferguson. So please be kind and easy on Adele. Don't give her too hard a ride, so to speak. So there you are. Councillor, yep. So we'll go through the agenda. First of all, apologies. I've got apologies from Sinn Féin, Tommy Anthony, maybe on. We'll just see where he's going. Any other apologies? No? That's it. Second item on the agenda, I have signed the minutes of the planning meeting held on the 21st of June. So we'll go forward to item 3. Any declarations of interest in regard to matters on the agenda for discussion today? Hold on. Councillor Mahan, David.
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item 4, application 2, 3 and 4.
That's okay, thanks very much. Any further declarations of interest? Yep. Councillor McClough.
Thank you, Chair. Item 9, the PAN, Enniskillen Rugby Club. I'm on the management committee and I'm also a trustee. At this stage, I don't think there's any need to go through the hassle of removing me, but I'll not make any comments on that.
That's okay, John. Thanks very much indeed for that. So noted. Okay. Let's move on to item 4 then. We've got 6 files for decision by the planning committee. And the first file is LA10 bar 2021 bar 1428F full. So is that you, Adele? Hold on till I. Yep, got you live. There you go. John, would you lower your hand, please? Thank you. Adele, away you go.
Good afternoon, members. The first application today is LA10 2021 1428F. This is a full application for a proposed car park facility, public toilet block and ancillary development. The applicant is Diane Farlow and Leslie Moffat, and the site is located on land approximately 780 metres southeast of the Marble Arch Caves Visitor Centre, Marlbank Road, Court McConnell, Florence Court. The recommendation is to approve planning permission for the reasons listed in the report and subject to 4 reasons. So members, I'll take you through the details. The site is located on the southern side of the minor public road. It's outlined in red, and the yellow star indicates the proposed car park. At present, the field is used for agriculture, with a stand of mature trees on the eastern boundary, and the roadside is defined with a post and wire fence. The entrance point is shown with the red arrow. 92 car parking spaces are laid out in 4 sections, each separated by grass minding beam and berms to be supplemented with additional planting, and the parking area to be finished in hard core. So the next slide here. The existing belt of trees along the eastern boundary, they're to be retained. Next slide here. So the access is indicated there with the red arrow. The 4 stars, they are the parking areas. We have a toilet block there with the red star, and then the green star is our sealed sewage tank. This is just now another slide with the landscaping proposed. So on the slide, members will see that initially a footpath was proposed, as shown in red, along the northern boundary. This has now been removed, and the applicant is now proposing a collection and drop-off shuttle bus service to operate between the site and the trailhead entrance. Car parks there indicated with the yellow star. Members will see the patrons will be shuttled from point A to point B. These are the only collection and drop-off points proposed. The return leg will be arranged by telephone, with patrons given a number to call from the trailhead. The car park will be open on an ad hoc basis, and the shuttle bus will operate continuously when the car park is open. The operation of the shuttle bus service will be agreed and secured through a legal agreement between the applicant, operator and the council. This will ensure there's safe means for visitors to get to the trailhead without walking along the road. The type of vehicle and number of seats can be agreed with the applicant as part of the legal agreement. Members will see now the proposed toilet block. The building would have grey roof cast round to the elevations, black corrugated iron to the roof, white PVC windows, painted hardwood doors. The floor plan shows a male and female toilet with an office and janitor store. Members will see the details of the non-main sewage disposal proposed. The next slide here is the applicant has submitted some supporting photos of the current parking on the public road and thus the need for the car park. So overall, members will note the recommendation is to approve planning permission for the 4 reasons listed within the report.
Thanks very much, Adele. We've got speaking rights from Les Ross, who's the agent. Hold on 1 minute, I think, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Maybe just before we get on the speaking rights, members, I'll give you an update. We had received a representation from an adjoining landowner yesterday evening after 5 p.m. So I'm going to take you through the detail of that just to make sure that you're aware of it. The representation was submitted by Mr. Sheridan and relates to this application. And he says, I have had sight of the council's recommendation to approve the above application and feel this would be a retrograde step in our desire to protect the mountain and the valuable asset that is the Culka Boardwalk. After the council meeting on a previous similar application, Paul Kelleher of Paul Kelleher Mountaineering produced the attached report, and that report was appended. It's all uploaded to the planning portal for the public. And all those points raised within that report are relevant to this application also. In addition, we would raise the following legitimate arguments as to why this application is premature and should be deferred to allow a discussion with myself as a neighbouring landowner. I own the lands in which the boardwalk was constructed and the entrance to the facility, and fear a bus traversing the route and turning at the entrance will be a danger to vehicles entering and persons traversing on foot. In posing no objections, both NIA and the council have failed to conduct an environmental impact assessment considering the need for a whole mountain plan and how approving the application will further damage the upper mountain. The montane heath on the summit area is extremely rare in Northern Ireland, and Culka is or was one of the best examples in Ireland. It continued damage in addition to the continued grading on the bog next to the boardwalk from the gravel road should be assessed for its impact on the wider mountain. Adding more defeats any attempt by John Sheridan to manage numbers at peak times via a booking system. This point is closely connected to previous point and again needs a proper plan with all parties concerned. Shuttle bus, whilst a well-operated shuttle bus will manage the clearly foreseeable risk of death or serious injury from greatly increased pedestrian traffic on the road, human behaviour of walkers returning, often wet and cold, and needing the toilet will mean walkers will not wait at the track end for a bus to arrive 15 minutes or 30 minutes later. They will simply walk on. The risk will increase directly proportionately to the prevailing weather. Wet weather equals walkers less likely to wait, coinciding with poorer visibility and longer break-in distances. In particular, and with regard to the section between the cave entrance off the Marbank Road and the Culka track entrance, the council and DFI roads would be well advised to ask the car park owner, Barlow and Moffat, to complete and supply a risk assessment, setting out these risks and propose mitigating factors. To not do so could make both complicit in failing to adequately assess the risk to public safety associated with this proposal. In conclusion, I feel the use of a shuttle bus is unworkable and unenforceable, and DFI roads have serious reservations about the conditioning or enforcement. I would ask the council to give serious thought to this submission. Members, it is received very late in the day. Officers have had a chance to review the paper, the objection and the paper from Paul Kelleher Mountaineering as well. And that paper from Paul Kelleher Mountaineering primarily rates the support of Mr. Sheridan's two applications and advocates an all-mountain approach. As I say, we've considered the representation. It doesn't really raise any new issues as such, and we're content that we can proceed on to determine the application. There's no policy requirement for the application to be deferred to negotiate with other landowners. The application is set out in the papers. We're content with it. Complies with policy. The applicants paid their fee. They're entitled to a decision. There is a requirement then for a cumulative assessment with all the other applications, and that's carried out within the papers. So, and we have progressed at the last meeting, Mr. Sheridan's application on the toilet. So we don't need to hold them all and bring them all together. This application is ready to be determined. The legal agreement, it will be a more effective way, in my opinion, of enforcing these requirements. And this will require no walkers from the site, and anyone walking to the boardwalk from the site will breach that agreement, and we can instigate enforcement action. And the details of that agreement then will be agreed if members are content. Between officers and the legal officers. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much. Les, before I bring you in, I've just been asked by IT to confirm there's a telephone caller going in, I think, starting 77938. Could they identify themselves, please?
Sorry, that me, Ashleen Lawler, on behalf of McDonald's. I've now been able to dial in.
That's okay. Actually, I see you up there, so thanks very much for confirming that. Right, we have speaking rights from the agent, Les Ross. Les, you know the drill, but I'll go through it. You have 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes to actually speak, and then questions from the committee may or may not be posed to you after that. I'll ask you to withdraw, and we'll carry on with the assessment. So, are you ready to start? You're live, so away you go.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Congratulations to all the councillors here in your re-election or your new election. And obviously it's a very important committee, and I wish the committee the very best for the new term. So as you've heard, the application came before the committee in February, and at that time it was deferred to allow consideration of the roads issue. Specifically the fact that car park users would walk along the roads of the trailhead. And since that time, I've been working with the planning team, mainly with Darren Lawther, to find a solution to that issue. And we've agreed a shuttle service between the car park and the trailhead. As you've heard, there's going to be I'm sorry I'm repeating a lot of what you've heard before, but we're going to put a legal agreement in place with the council under section 76 of the planning order. So everyone who attended in February know the wider issues, and I can rehearse those if you wish, but just briefly, this proposal is unique because the Environment Agency has no objection to it. And as I said in February, in terms of this super sensitive landscape in this area, in terms of the geology and the ecology, this is the perfect site for the car park. The proposal will ensure that we don't have a repeat of the chaotic scenes that we've had up there in the past, and you saw the photographs there that Adele put up on the screen. So the aim of this application is to formalise and regulate the car parking up at Culka, creating an orderly solution. The proposal is necessary and it's demonstrably environmentally appropriate, and that means that it satisfies the overarching policy requirements, the planning policy requirements, which are set down at CTY 1 of PPS 21. Basically, that it must be necessary, and plainly it is. The shuttle service will operate in line with the legal agreement between the car park owner and the council. In day-to-day terms, that's a fairly simple process, as Adele outlined, but I've already agreed with Darren in communications that the shuttle service will operate at all times when the car park is open. The site attendant, there's always a site attendant when the car park's open, and that site attendant will manage the service. And it will be I think you maybe describe it as a sort of the idea anyway is that it'll be a friendly Fermanagh type service where you meet the attendant, he explains the process. We're envisaging that you'll be given an armband with the telephone number on it. You get into the vehicle, it delivers you to the trailhead. On your return leg, you make a phone call, when you're a few minutes away or you're anticipating arriving at the trailhead again. The shuttle service, the vehicle collects you there and brings you back to the car park. Just as simple as that. The other thing that within the car park there will be signage to dissuade people from walking along the road. As I explained at the last meeting, the road is actually part of the Ulster Way, and there's other walking trails that follow along the road there. But people using the car park will be specifically dissuaded from using the road. And obviously, after the decision today, we'll be working with the council to get that Section 76 agreement in place as quickly as we can. So as I said, I'm not going to rehearse all of the issues, but before questions, I just want to emphasise to you that the shuttle service agreement properly addresses the road safety issue. The roads department has been consulted again and they're content with it. That addresses the single issue that the committee had at the last meeting. So I'm trusting you'll be content with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Les. It's concise as always. Members, any questions for Les? I have one. Councillor Devine Gallagher, Roisin.
It is. Just one good question. The cell coverage on that area, how is it?
Yeah, it's not the best up on the mountain, but I'm told that it does work. It works sufficiently, to make a call through. I actually do all of Vodafone and O2's planning applications in Northern Ireland, so I must have a chat with them about getting another mast up there.
All right, Councillor. Any further questions? Councillor Rainey.
Chair, thank you. The allegation that was made earlier on in relation to people returning, and if the shuttle bus is not available, I suppose there is a tendency, being human nature, to walk on. And has any plans been considered for that, as to how people might be provided with some form of a shelter or whatever, that they do wait and observe that, because it would be really chaotic, the people walking on the road. Maybe you would address that for me, please.
Thank you, Councillor, and through the chair. Look, Councillor, you know yourself, you can't physically prevent people from doing anything. You can do your very best to persuade them and encourage them to follow the rules and to do the right thing. As I said, there's already, I'd said at the last council meeting, there's already encouragement on the tourist board website for people to walk along the road. There's also encouragement, through the fact that it's the Ulster Way and other walking routes along there. And you literally can't stop it. The fact is that there's an unauthorised car park up there at the moment, and for the last 2 or 3 years, people have been walking along the road to and from the trailhead using that. And I mean, there have been no incidents, no problems, no issues with that configuration. So this will just make it better, Councillor, and you have a choice of having cars chaotically parked along the road being blocked with all of that, and people walking along the road, or this very orderly service, which is good quality, well landscaped, well designed car park. and a formal shuttle service that's going to run there, and it's going to be controlled by a legal agreement with the council. So I think that's the choice on the table, councillors, and this is the very best solution. If I may just widen that a little bit to say that, I mean, before we submitted this planning application, and there was a pre-application discussion with the council, and I also spoke with the chief executive in our former role about, you know, wider issues in the mountains. So this landowner is a responsible landowner in terms of its wider consideration of the issues in the mountain, and you know, he will continue to work with the council on this, and you know, and to improve the whole environment up there as whatever's within his power. I'm kind of addressing the objection there when I say that. But I hope that answers your question, councillor.
Thank you very much, Liz. Look, I just remind those councillors that came in late that I would advise them not to take part in the discussion. They can't actually take any formal part in the decision, and that would be Councillor O'Reilly and Councillor Feely. So I'm going to bring in Councillor McCann. Stephen.
Right, thank you, Chair, and thanks for also your welcome to the committee, and thanks for your words of congratulations at the start of your presentation. A couple of questions I've down here, but they've been more or less addressed during Les's presentation and Councillor Rainey's question as well. In terms of the site attendant, that'll be at the car park. As you park your car, you walk down to the road. The site attendant will be there to meet you and encourage you to wait for the bus. So as you come back down from the mountain and you're waiting for the bus at the other side, will there be a site attendant in place there to kind of hold you in position, or what's going to make you wait until the bus at that stage, you know? And secondly, in terms of the bus manoeuvring, so you drive, the bus will obviously have places to turn at the car park, but as you're disembarking at the mountainside, where is the bus proposed to turn to come back? You know, is there a safe place of turning? And is there any issues in terms of permissions or access to allow the bus to turn? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so there's an attendant at one side, at the car park side, but there's no attendant at the drop-off point in that lifting area. That'll just be done by telephone. And in terms of the turning manoeuvre, we haven't sorted out with the council, you know, the exact type of vehicle that'll be used here. The nature of it is that people turn up in a sort of a carload of started between 2 and 4 people typically, and that's the number of people that'll be moved, you know, in sort of shuttled back and forth. It's not anticipated that there'll be a sort of a, you know, once every 15 minutes or anything like that. The likelihood is, or what my client anticipates, is that it'll be a sort of a minivan type of a vehicle, you know, not a bus, not a sort of a 42-seater or something you'd call it, you know, not a biggish bus, but something more like an 8-person vehicle, something like that will be the vehicle that will be used, but we'll have to agree that through the legal agreement. And that vehicle will turn at the trailhead in the existing hammerhead there at the road. There's a lot of space there. There's plenty of space there, and that is, you know, it's from a geometry point of view, it works fine. I note that the landowner who submitted an objection there last night has not raised any concern about whether that's acceptable or not, but as it's used as a public car park there at the moment, I can't see that the landowner would be blocking that access in any way or trying to prevent public access to it. So I hope that answers your question.
Happy enough, Stephen?
Just one further question, more to the officials, Chair.
If you keep that till after we finish with Les, yep.
Yeah, sound.
Councillor Feely, I note your hand is still up, but you were noted as not being here at the start when this application was first discussed, so therefore you're ruled out with regard to voting. Do you have a question to raise I would hesitate whether you should or not, as you weren't here at the start. Can you hear me, Anthony?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. Apologies, I'm disappointed about that. I thought that I was in time. You were just
No.
starting to talk about it when I came in. Can I just have one question, Robert, about the recommendation?
Well, depends. Well, obviously, what the question is, Anthony.
It says on my tablet that there's plan is recommend to give plan permission, but then on the agenda it is to refuse plan permission. Which is it? Sorry, Robert.
It's forward for approval, Anthony. Just to clarify that, it's coming forward for approval.
But on my agenda it says it's
Right, well,
refused.
it's definitely for approval. Okay,
And was I very late coming down this, Robert? Can I
you were,
get that
yeah,
vote on?
you were.
I had a question there, but I can't ask no.
No, you can't. No, that's my advice.
Okay.
Okay, could you take your hand down, please? Right, any further questions? No, Les, you can withdraw. Okay. I go back to Adele.
I have no further comments. Paul, had you?
Oh, sorry.
Then?
Yes, we had, yeah. We'll let Adele first of all. Adele, you come in and then Councillor McCann.
I have no further comments unless Paul had anything else to add. So I'll let it to members.
No, Stephen?
Chair, yeah, I'm just wondering, has DFA been reconsulted on these proposals and what are they saying in terms of primarily road safety?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor McCann. Yeah, Road Service have been consulted on them in the proposals. The details just within the report there. I think they haven't raised any objection to it, sort of noting that it's unusual, but no objection on road safety grounds. So consultee is content.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. Councillor McClockery, question for the officials?
No, not really. I think I had a similar question to Councillor McCann's, but if that question's over and there's nobody else indicating, can I go to a recommendation?
You can indeed. And what's your recommendation?
Well, Chair, I haven't had the luxury of having had site visits out there, and I feel that the applicant has come up with an innovative way of coming around what was the main problem that most of us foresaw out there. I would be going with the officer's recommendations to approve this.
Okay, that's your proposal to go with this officer's recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Mahan, David?
Thank you, Chairman. I can maybe come in and second the proposal of the officer's recommendation. I think if DFA is happy with the road safety and we put our trust in the legal agreement between the applicant and the council here, that the bus and things will be followed accordingly, I'd be happy to second.
That's okay. I think what you're proposing and seconding are the recommendations on page 9, but also you're proposing and recommend and seconding that the legal agreement is delegated back to the officials to be drawn up, just to clarify. Are you happy enough with that, Councillor McClockery?
Yes, indeed, Chair. That's exactly what I would have liked, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Councillor McCann, Stephen?
Just quickly, Chair, I picked up that there might have been a site meeting in terms of this particular application back in February. Now, obviously, this is a new committee, and I wasn't obviously at that particular meeting. How does that impact my ability to vote today?
It doesn't have any effect on your ability to vote.
Okay.
Because, just for clarity, site visits basically are purely an indication by the committee that they would like to actually see something on the ground. They don't formulate an opinion. They're basically presented with the bare facts of the application. There's no interaction with the applicant or the agent. It's purely a visit with planning committee members and planning officers. And it's an update to actually visualise and see how the proposed application impacts on the ground. And you just look at that and you don't formulate anything. So basically, that's it. It doesn't affect your ability as a member who wasn't out on a site visit. So that's just purely for future reference. Okay, no problem at all. That said, Councillor McCarthy, could you take your hand down, please? I've got one proposal in front of the committee, and that's to go with the officer's recommendation. Are we all agreed, apart from obviously councillors Feely and O'Reilly, you can't vote? All agreed? Oh, Philip, yeah.
So, Chair, just to clarify the position in relation to members who aren't present for the entirety of an item, those members are advised and recommended that they should not vote in relation to a matter, but it is not possible to compel them or tell them that they cannot vote. So the strong advice from the committee, from officers through you, Chair, is that they should not vote in relation to a matter, but the legal position, strictly speaking, is that they can't be compelled not to vote.
Yeah, thanks very much for that legal clarification. I think my recommendation as a chair is that you don't vote. So that's my recommendation. Aside from that, are we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. Adele, could you just clarify?
So members, the application Elliot 10 2021-1428F, the recommendation was to approve. Members have granted approval subject to the 4 conditions within the report and to delegate the legal agreement back to officers.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll move on to application number 2 now, and that is LA 10 bar 2021 bar 0674. Councillor Mahon, you have declared an interest in the next 3 items. So if you care to withdraw, we'll get one of the members to notify you when it's clear for you to come back in. Thanks very much, David. Adele?
Members, so application number 2 is LA 10 2021-0674, a full application for the demolition of existing garage and erection of a freestanding McDonald's restaurant with drive-through, car parking, landscaping and associated site works, including 2-number customer order displays. The applicant is McDonald's Restaurant Limited and the location is the former TP Topping Car Dealership, 18 Dublin Road. The recommendation is to approve planning permission for the reasons listed in the report, subject to 13 conditions. I'll take members through the details. The site is located in red and the building to be demolished is indicated there with a yellow star. This image is a street view image of the former garage in the centre and the fire station to the right. The proposed layout, members will note the area hatched blue. This is a cordon, an area along an existing pipe where no building is allowed by NI Waters marked up on the plans. Now in red, members will see the proposed new building. The red arrows indicate the entrance in and exit out. 38 parking spaces are proposed. Left in and left out arrangement is proposed with no right turn access across the Dublin Road. A one-way system will operate within the site. Members will see the proposed restaurant building, a contemporary design with a flat roof, and the palette of finishes will include grey cladding panels, timber effect cladding panels, stone effect cladding panels, and dark grey brick. Members will see how the proposed building will sit in the wider streetscape with the fire station and a model school further to the right. The slide shows the improvements required to the public road network to facilitate the proposal. There are upgrades proposed to the near side and curbside call buttons and detectors. An additional traffic light and push button will be installed at the junction of the A4 Dublin Road and the Derry Char Road to improve pedestrian crossing. This will be subject to a planning condition. Overall, members will note that the recommendation is to approve planning permission with the 13 conditions listed in the report.
You finished, Adele? Yep. Right, we have speaking rights from the applicant and agent. Ailing and Catherine, are you online currently?
Yes, I'm here. Is Aisling here?
Right, okay. The process is you've up to 10 minutes actually to present. Thereafter, members may or may not ask you questions where you can actually answer and interact. Thereafter, yep, you're combined. Yep. Oh yeah, there's 2. Sorry, we're just clarifying. Are you both on screen individually or separately? Sorry, individually or together on screen?
My understanding was Aisling was delivering the speech, and I'm here to just answer any questions on highways matters if there were the questions by the
That's
members.
okay. That's fine. That's sorts that out, Catherine. Thanks very much indeed. Well, Aisling, you've got 10 minutes. If you're ready to go, just go ahead, please. Yep. I think Aisling has lost connectivity and is coming back on the telephone.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, you're all right.
Chair and members. I'm actually abroad at the minute, so the Wi-Fi is not amazing. But just an introduction. My name is Aisling Lawless. I'm Acquisitions and Estate Management Surveyor for McDonald's, and I'm responsible for sourcing new sites for McDonald's within Northern Ireland. I want to take this opportunity to add some detail to the report before you and thank the planning officers for being so helpful and attentive throughout the planning application. Our planning application was submitted in June 2021 with a number of supporting statements based on pre-application advice. The existing McDonald's restaurant operation is currently capped by the size and flexibility of the building. This opportunity allows the business to relocate and grow in the immediate vicinity into a vacant site within the town centre. The new restaurant will allow the development of business and the introduction of a drive-through lane with minimal disruption to staff and an increase in jobs. The existing restaurant currently employs 68 crew members, which is anticipated to increase to 120 full and part-time members of staff in the proposed restaurant, primarily from the local area. The new building will also allow for a more sustainable approach, which incorporates the latest initiatives within construction. The McDonald's development team is committed on the journey to combating climate change by looking at ways new restaurants can reduce carbon emissions and execute a more sustainable operation. Materials for the building are selected to provide the required aesthetics combined with maximum durability and robustness. The requirement for replacement, maintenance and repair will be minimal during the life cycle of the building, thus providing good low level of energy input over the whole life cycle. During the application, we've worked with the officers to ensure the proposal before you is in an acceptable form. An environmental noise assessment and odour assessment were submitted with the application to mitigate any potential impacts and incorporated the relevant measures within the final design, which includes a 2.4 metre acoustic fence on the northwest part of the drive-through lane. There have been a number of discussions with DFI Roads, and we are delighted that the proposed left-in, left-out access arrangement has been confirmed and agreed with an independent road safety audit. The proposal includes improvements to the pedestrian crossing facilities at the F4 Derry Chara Road signal junction and dedication of land along the site frontage to highways to enable future footway widening. All other matters have been agreed to be dealt with through the conditions. There are many benefits that the proposed scheme will bring, and McDonald's are excited to continue to invest in the local area in the long term, providing a significant economic investment which will provide a range of benefits to the local community. We are pleased with the officer's recommendation and we trust you can now support the application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Aisling. Members, any questions for Aisling? Or indeed Catherine? Stunned into silence. Very good. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies, I'll go back now to Adele.
No further points to add, Robert.
Right, members, we have a proposal coming forward from the officers that it's an approval. Any indication? Councillor Robinson, Paul?
Future, I'll go with it. The committee's recommendation of approval.
Right, you're proposing to approve, going with the officer's recommendation. Thank you very much indeed. Councillor McGuire, oh, sorry. Councillor McGuire, Tommy.
Carly, thank you, Chair, and I would certainly support the recommendation for approval. Happy to second that. It's again, as was discussed over the years about Enniskillen, about the vacant sites. It's good to see one of them potentially being developed in this way. Anything that brings 120 full and part-time jobs to Enniskillen is to be welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Tommy. Councillor Thompson, Earl.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. And I was going to come on there before Councillor McGuire, but he beat me to it. But no, I'm happy enough to support that as well, because it's probably something that Enniskillen really does need. So I'm happy to support it that way. Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed. Any further proposals? No further proposals. So I've got a proposal from Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor McGuire, to actually go with the officer's recommendation of approval. All agreed? Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Feely, could you nod or put your thumbs up? Thank you very much indeed. That's unanimous. Adele?
So, members, application LA 10 2021-0674F. The recommendation was to approve. Members have granted approval subject to the 13 conditions within the report.
Brilliant, thank you.
No problem at all. Enjoy your holiday, Ashley.
Thanks very much.
I hope you're not getting burnt alive.
No, I'm staying in the shade. Thank you.
Right, thank you. We'll move on to application number 3, and that's LA 10 2021-0678, and this refers again to the application previously, but it's for advertisements. Adele?
So, members, application number 3 is LA 10 2021-0678A, an application for advertisement consent to display 4 number freestanding sign, 2 number banners, and 23 number dot signs, which are Department of Transport directional style signs. The applicant is McDonald's Restaurants Limited, and the location is the former TP Topping Garage on 18 Dublin Road. The recommendation is to approve advertising consent. So, members, this slide is just showing examples of the proposed signage to be used throughout the site. And this slide just shows the layered plan of the proposed signs. The signs will mainly be single-sided steel panels on steel posts. The digital screens will be located at the rear of the site and will be single and double-sided with immediate display. Members will note the recommendation is to approve advertising consent for the reasons listed, and no conditions are required.
Okay, members, any questions for Adele? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Chair. No questions for Adele. It's happy enough the way it's explained there and on the report. If we're happy to go to a recommendation.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm happy to propose the recommendation as listed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, that's a proposal coming forward for approval by Councillor Thompson. Councillor McGuire, Tommy?
Thanks again, Chair, and again, I'm happy to second the application.
Thank you very much indeed. Any further recommendations, members? Right, I have a proposal from Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor McGuire, to go with the officer's recommendation of approval. All in favour? Okay, I see nods from Councillor McCrockery and Councillor Feely. Thank you. That's unanimous. Adele?
Members, just as well as to give you an update, DFI Roads hadn't come back at the time the agenda was published, but they have now responded. They offer no objection to the proposal, so if you're still content.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll go on now to planning application number 4, LA 10 bar 2021 bar 0679.
So, members, application number 4, LA 10 2021-0679A is for 6 number fascia signs, 1 number 15-inch digital booth screen, and 3 number buoy lettering. The applicant again is McDonald's Restaurant Limited, and the location is the former TP Topping dealership, 18 Dublin Road. The recommendation is to approve advertising consent. Just as well, members, on this one, DFI Roads hadn't commented at the time of publishing the report, but they have come back and they offer no objections. So the proposed slide here shows the eastern and western elevations. Members will see the proposed signage. This is typical branding commonly found at McDonald's drive-thru restaurants. They are proportioned to the size of the building. This is an impression of how the signage will appear on the southern elevation. And this slide here is an example of how the signage will appear at the drive through the area, again, standard to the McDonald's franchise. So members will note the recommendation is to approve advertising consent. No conditions are required.
Thank you very much, members. Any discussion, or are we going to a recommendation? Councillor Maguire?
Thanks, Chair, and happy enough to go with the officer's recommendation for approval.
That's great, Tommy, thank you. Councillor Robinson, Paul?
I'm happy to second the
Up
recommendation.
second. Great. Any further recommendations? No. So I have a proposal from Councillor Maguire, seconded by Councillor Robinson, to go with the officer's recommendation to approve. All agreed? Great. Thank you. And I see nods of approval from the two online councillors, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. We'll move on now. Could somebody go, Diana? Councillor Armstrong, would you get Councillor Mahon back in, please? We'll just wait till he comes in. Okay, that's Councillor Mahon back in the chamber. We'll move on now to application number 5, and that's LA 10 bar 2021 bar 0839. Adele?
Members, application number 5 is LA 10 2021 0839F. This is a full application for a housing development of 16 dwellings. The applicant is Trailview Homes Limited, and the location is lands adjacent to north of 24 Arleston Road, Omagh. The recommendation is to approve planning permission for the reasons listed in the report and subject to 13 conditions. I'll take the members through the details. The yellow star indicates our site. Arleston Road is located to the southwest, and the Cookstown Road is located along the east-northeast with the red lines. Now, the next slide you see again the Arleston and Cookstown Road, and the 3 stars indicate the extent of the site over 3 smaller parcels of land. This is an image of the site looking in from the access point on the Arleston Road, and as noted, the critical views are from the Arleston Road. Members, this is the proposed layout. 16 units are proposed with a mix of detached and semi-detached properties, and access is an access road in the southeast point and a road along the southeast boundary. Members will see on site 1 a detached house type is proposed, noted with the yellow star. This is in keeping with the character of the frontage as seen at 20 and 24 Arleston Road. Now, on sites 2 to 8, there are a mix again of detached, semi-detached dwellings. Each dwelling has a defined curtilage, and there's appropriate separation distances are provided and orientated to minimise overlooking. On sites 9 to 16, again, members will note each dwelling has adequate separation distance and orientation to minimise overlooking. On site 16, a condition is being placed to provide obscure glazing on windows facing number 30 Arleston Road to prevent overlooking, as this was a matter raised in objection. Also, to protect amenity, a 1.8 metre wooden fence will be provided along the boundary with 24, 28 and number 30 Arleston Road. Members will see here, this is the proposed detached and semi-detached house types. The finishes proposed are concrete roof pallets or concrete roof tiles with a mixture of buff facing brick and coloured plaster with large cladding to the elevations. In summary, members will note the recommendation is to approve planning permission with 13 conditions listed in the report.
Thank you very much, Adele. We have speaking rights again on this. Les, if you could go forward. Thank you. You have 10 minutes and I will activate you. There you are.
Thank you again, Chairman. I should have said before, for those who don't know, I tend to be, I'm a planning consultant and we're based in this part of the world, so we tend to be here 3 or 4 months a year at least, on different applications. So this one's for a housing scheme, and Adele's outlined the proposal very well. We had originally submitted for a larger number of houses. The discussion with the planning officers, we've loosened the scheme up a fair bit. The scheme, it takes pains to make sure that there's no overlooking issues and that we have good separation distances with the nearby properties. And it's a nice little housing scheme. The average outdoor space or garden space, private space for each dwelling is something like 100 meters or something square meters, so on, which is well above the average, and the average is expected in these types of schemes. So it's on zoned housing land, and so there's been an expectation here from 20 or 30 years ago that this would be developed at some time, and it's good to see that it's coming forward. And I'm pleased to commend the proposal to the committee. As the chairman will tell you, I tend not to speak for very long, and I'll be happy to take questions. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Les. Concise as ever. Members, do we have any questions for Les? Councillor Thompson Earl.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Les and our planning officer for the report and Les's comments. Just with regard to, I know as councillors on the ground and maybe in the wider planning committee as well, we get a lot of issues with regard to finish of the development. I know we have a couple of developments that are not finished, and obviously the surface is not up to a standard. Can you give us any, reassurance that that will be done? Because I know one development just outside Omagh, and it's been there for about 15, 16 years. It's still not finished as a development, I suppose, but that doesn't say that a lot of the surface where houses have been maybe for 10 years are not up to an adequate standard to meet the D&D level, basically. Thank you.
Thank you for that. With the greatest respect, I think probably that's a thing that we maybe could have a discussion with planning officers outside the form of this particular planning application, because I know that's a genuinely important issue, and the way that our planning system works doesn't really help you with that. There is a provision in the planning order which requires completion of a development, but it's something that's almost no one even knows about. It's one of those sort of provisions in the background. And I guess it also would cover, and Paul talked maybe a bit about this, about in the roads order and what's required under private streets order and so on. So I guess what I can say on behalf of this developer is that he wants to go in, do a tidy job and get out of that site as quickly as possible. It's only 16 houses, and it lends itself to being built out in one shot, if you'd like, rather than being built out in multiple phases over many years. So I'm hoping that my words won't come back on me, but that the developer will get on and get this completed fairly quickly, Councillor.
Fair comment, Les, you're right. It's sort of out with the decision regarding this. Any further questions from members? No? Then I'll go back to Adele for comment.
No further comments myself, Robert.
That's okay, thanks very much. We now come to the decision. Don't be shy. I don't think we've gone into hibernation mode here. Somebody has to activate themselves. Councillor McCann, Stephen, good for you.
Chair. I'm happy to propose the recommendations. I've listened to the report, or listened to the presentation from Les there, and just welcome, that the correspondence and the engagement that Les had with the plan officers. I note that he did say at the start that this was for a large number of units, and between negotiations and discussions it was adjusted and came to the recommendation of approval, albeit with conditions. I also welcome the fact that there is a number of units, I think it's 2, that are set aside for affordable housing, which is obviously welcome, and that's obviously in line with our LDP. So no, listen, happy to propose recommendations.
Yep, I think your comment in regard to social housing is welcome. That is really an issue that we did track through on the draft plan strategy and is now fully adopted. So that's to be welcome going forward. Councillor McCrockery, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to jump in there, but Councillor McCann's beat me. I'm quite happy to second. I mean, I know this area of Omagh fairly well, and that land lends itself to development rather than any other use. So it's good to see it being put to a good use. I think it's a cleverly laid out site. So I'm happy to go with the recommendations.
Yep, I'll just bring Paul in here at this for clarification on an issue. Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Chair and members. Similar to one of the previous applications, we need to do a legal agreement for the 2 affordable houses, just to make sure that they're retained in perpetuity for affordable housing. So that needs to be part of the recommendation, Councillor McCann. Thanks.
And I think this was mentioned by Paul going forward, and it's an issue that we'll bring up actually. It's just for information for the committee at our sort of workshop in September. That it's likely that this issue will be ongoing. So I think the officers plan to bring some sort of draft template that would be templated, so it would be a lot easier for applicants and agents going forward to actually see the conditions that would pertain with regard to social housing. Councillor Maguire.
Clearly, we're just on the back of Paul's remarks there. Does that mean that every development going forward, despite the fact that we have it set up in our LDP, that we have to come to a legal arrangement with every developer to ensure that there's a requirement for the social housing, or is it similar to the previous legal advice where you were advising the members not they couldn't vote on the matter? We have there's no compulsion. Have we some teeth in this matter, and can we insist going forward that social housing is a key matter within these larger developments?
That's okay. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So the policy requires affordable housing, thresholds for affordable housing to be provided for certain applications. I think it's applications over 10 units or over 1 hectare. So all those applications, there'll be 10% of the units then will be handed over for affordable housing. Now, the policy only kicks in if the housing executive have identified a need for affordable housing within that settlement. So there needs to be a need within the settlement, and then the project that's before us needs to meet the thresholds, and then the units will be provided.
Thanks very much for that.
I think there's always a debate over whether we deal with affordable housing by way of condition or legal agreement. I think it's important that we deal with it by way of a legal agreement to ensure that they're retained in perpetuity, that there's no breach of the condition at a later stage, and then it falls back to private use. So I think we'll progress them with legal agreement, and there is an SPG that we're developing as well in this matter, which will come before the steering group.
Councillor Mahan was in before you, Tom, so I'll get him in first of all. Councillor Mahan, David?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and Paul. Just one on the terminology, that the social housing being used and affordable housing, are those different? Or, just to clarify, because, some of the councillors are using social housing and you're using affordable, just maybe clarify the difference.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's the policy in our plan strategy is HOE3 affordable housing and settlements. Then the definition of the various elements of affordable housing, the different types, is set out within the glossary. And I'm just looking at it here. So the thresholds then are 10 units. So if the project's for 10 units, then we'll expect 10% of that. So that will be 1 unit or a half a hectare. Thanks, Chair.
No, Councillor Riley, Tom.
Thanks, Chair. Can you maybe just clarify for me the demand issue? I take it that it's latent demand testing that the housing executive would do, and how do we sort of coincide that? They don't do very much latent demand testing. It's like dragging that out of them to get it, and so I know in Newton Butler it took at least 2 years to actually get it worked up to that. So how do we sort of square that with developers wanting to go ahead and develop sites if we want to have our policy enacted.
Yes, thanks, Chair. And I know there will be ongoing discussions. I think members of ongoing discussions as well with NIHE to pick this up within their methodology. But in terms of planning, what we rely on is the housing needs assessment, which the housing executive will publish. So they'll publish, what housing need, and that'll be across all the councils, across all the districts. They'll publish that. I think we brought it before, the updated paper was brought before committee last month, and it set out all the need figures for our district across all the settlement hierarchy. So we rely on that. I know there are some issues that members have with the methodology, and I think we need to pick that up with the housing executive directly as part of their methodology and work on that. But we'll rely on the housing needs publication because they're the statutory body responsible for the affordable housing, identifying that need.
Well, Chair, I'm happy enough that Paul is recognising there that there is an issue that needs to be followed up. And Chair, I would be certainly making the recommendation that we do, as a matter of some urgency, follow that up with the housing executive, because I don't want a situation where we have continuous development in the larger towns and our villages because there isn't a defined latent demand test on there, or that it isn't producing results out of it, which the methodology has a lot to answer for there, that we would then not have some affordable housing in if we were lucky enough to get some development work going in the villages.
I take your point, Tom. I think what we should do, and I'll ask Paul to note at our forthcoming workshop, that this is an item really to be brought up, talked about, and possibly then see what actions would stream out of it. Okay, we have a proposer and seconder for going with the application. We all agreed? Councillor Feely, yeah, Councillor McCrockey, great. All agreed, that's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Move on to item 6, and that's LA 10 bar 2023 1337. Adele.
Members, application number 6, this LA 10 2023 1337. This is a full application for a wastewater pump out and associated pipe work and electrical cabling for boats. The applicant is Waterways Ireland, and the location is Ballinlack Quay, Slipway and Jetty, the Quarry Line, Ballinlack. The recommendation is to approve planning permission for reasons listed in the report, subject to one condition. Take my members through. So this site just showing an overview of the location. The lands in blue are indicated, and they're under the control of the applicant, and the red rectangular box indicates the location of the proposed works. This slide is a close-up, members, and you will see the small purple rectangular box at the bottom. That's the proposed pump kiosk. And at the top, this yellow box that indicates the location of the suction hose rail. A green dash line indicates cabling to be provided underneath the existing jetty. So members, this is a typical detail of the proposed pier pump and foot pedestal, and these are used for evacuating the waste from the boats. So members, you will note the recommendation is to approve planning permission with one condition as listed in the report.
Thank you very much, Adele. Any questions for Adele? Don't see anybody out in the chamber or online. Then we move to a decision, members. Councillor Feely online, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. A proposed recommendation.
Thanks very much, Anthony. Councillor McGuire, Tommy.
I'm clearly happy to second the recommendation. It's a great facility down there, and it's been modernised at every turn. It's a great asset to us.
Good job, thank you. Any further recommendations? No. So I have a recommendation from Councillor Feely, seconded by Councillor McGuire, to go with the officer's recommendation to approve. All agreed? All agreed. That's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Adele.
Members, application LA 10 2023 1337 app. The recommendation was to approve, and members have granted approval subject to one condition.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 5 now, and we have one application for decision from Colin, and that's LA 10 bar 2022 bar 1196. Adele.
So members, paper B, Appendix 1, Application 1, LA 10 2022 1196-0. This is an outline application for a dwelling and garage. The applicant is P Green and the location is 36 metres northwest of 24 Loop Road, Knockmakegan, Newton Butler. The recommendation is to refuse permission for the reasons listed in the report, subject to 2 reasons. Now, members, take you through the following slides. The site is identified in red as a roadside plot that's part of a larger field between numbers 20 and 24 Loop Road. The site boundaries are defined by a post and wire fence and mature trees and hedgerow. The next slide shows the wider locality, and the site is indicated there with star. That's the aerial images. So members, this is a supporting site layout submitted by the agent indicating how the site would be developed for 2 dwellings. Members, to draw you to the following slides. So the agent was offered an opportunity to comment on the new plan strategy. A supporting statement was provided, but no comment was made. As per the SPPS, where a council adopts its plan strategy, existing retained policy under the transitional arrangement ceases to have effect and shall not be material whether or not the application was received before that date. This application is considered under policy HOU 13, rounding off and infilling. Members, the application site is marked with a yellow star. Numbers 20, 24 and 30 Loop Road are visible on the aerials. Numbers 30 and 24 have a separation distance of approximately 170 metres. They are not visually linked due to the bend in the road and the existing mature vegetation. And you can see this from the street view imagery. Policy HOU 13, paragraph 2 states infilling would be permitted where the site is a small gap suitable to accommodate only 2 dwellings within an otherwise substantial and continuously built up frontage. Members, for the purpose of this policy, a substantial and continuously built up frontage is a line of at least 3 buildings, each with their own defined curtilage. Members will see from this slide there are only 2 buildings with their own defined curtilage, therefore the proposal is contrary to policy. Members, moving on to the next slide. A test of the policy is that a site is a small gap suitable of accommodating a maximum of 2 houses. As indicated on this slide, it is considered the gap could accommodate 3 dwellings, having regard to the character of the adjacent houses, plots and width of the field. The agent has provided us with a supporting site layout plan. Members will note the table indicates site frontages. It is not a mathematical test of measurement. Regard must be given to the width of the field, length of the proposed houses and the width of the proposed site and the remainder of the field. So leading on from the previous slide, we can see the dimensions of the frontage across the road frontage of the site and also to the rear of the site. It is considered that the gap between number 20 and 24 Loop Road is suitable for 3 houses with similar plot sizes and having regard to the character and appearance of the adjacent houses, therefore contrary to the plan strategy. Members, there are 2 reasons for refusal. I'll just summarise them. The proposal is contrary to the rounding off policy criteria A, B, C, D, F, and G, and H, and policy DE05 criteria D. It is also contrary to the infill policy in that the proposed site is not a small gap suitable to accommodate only 2 dwellings within an otherwise substantial and continuously built up frontage of at least 3 buildings with their own defined curtilage and will detract from rural character. Members, in summary, the application LA 10 2022 1196-0, the recommendation is to refuse for the 2 reasons listed in the report.
Thank you very much, Adele. We have speaking rights both from the the applicant and agent, and from councillor representatives. We'll take the agent and applicant first of all. Mr. Green and Ronan, if you could go up to the other seats there, yeah. No, you have to be in front of the seats that have got a speaker on them. Right. Just to clarify before you say anything, you have 10 minutes between the 2 of you. Thereafter, the committee may or may not ask you questions individually or collectively. And thereafter, I'll ask you to address back and the 2 councillors will be brought in. So you have 10 minutes in total. I'll be keeping a time on it. And you can either speak 1 or 2, but it's a collective 10 minutes. So the 2 of you are going to speak. It's a total of 10 minutes. Hold on. Number 3, right. You can go now if you're ready to go, Ronan.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Ronan Murphy. I represent the applicants in making this plan application. In looking at this site, originally, we saw that we had 4 approvals on this site stretching back 20 years. We also looked at the actual space between the sites, between the houses, what I say. And at the time we made the application, the planning policy actually permitted this type of development where you could have infill between 2 dwellings with other ancillary buildings. On this particular site, we have, I think, a total of 5 buildings. And when you look at the site frontages, the existing site frontages and average them, the proposed site frontage and site areas actually falls within the character of this locality. So we don't actually have one site sitting way spaced out from the others. You can see that if the Adele will put up on the screen the plan I submitted with the application, please. The site plan, Adele, please. Thank you. I have prepared a table which shows the site area of the site to the right and the left. We average both those sites together and then obviously do the bit of maths. We can see that 2 sites in between actually are within those averages. In looking at the site also, we have a total of 7 entrances along that particular stretch of road. And we have a very strong hedge, which doesn't need to be removed and adds greatly to the integration. In the change in the application, obviously, in the policy, after the application is submitted, we would think, that it's pretty unfair that a policy that wasn't in place, we made the application then, is backdated to an application that was previously made. I had actually previously made an application on this site for these clients, but due to health problems, I wasn't able to deal with it. And at the particular time that application was submitted. So really I'm asking the council to consider that they've had 4 approvals. This infill sites do actually not have any significant impact on the locality. And I'd like to ask you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ronan. Mrs. Murphy, Mrs. Green, do you want to speak? Yes. There you go.
Good afternoon, Chair, Committee and Councillors. So my name is Sinead and I moved to Newtown Butler 6 years ago from Newry City. I currently work in the SWA full-time as a nurse and worked over COVID. We worked very hard to try and save money for this land. We had seen potential here because there was previous outline planning on it. But now we feel very grieved that the guidelines have obviously changed and the money that we have spent is probably quite worthless to us and the land will be worthless to us. We are currently renting at the minute as well, which, as we know, the cost of living is increasing and it is wasted money to us. We have 2 young kids. We live in a very small townhouse. We haven't much outdoor space. So we always had wanted to build and we thought this was the right opportunity. Unfortunately, if we don't get planning, we might have to relocate. And we are quite heavily involved in our community with our children obviously going to school in Newtown. My husband is a local businessman. He works for PMP Tarmac and brings plenty of business to the area and also sponsors our local GAA team and has been involved in fundraising. But unfortunately, if it doesn't go the way we would like, we might have to move. And also mainly me leaving my job in South West Acute to relocate to another hospital. So we obviously would both love to remain in Fermanagh. And as I've said, I hope some of these points will help us and it ultimately does have a big impact on our future as a family. We would like to expand our family, but at the minute it's not really possible. But we do feel very grieved, unfortunately, that we're in this scenario at the minute. But yeah, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ronan, have you anything further to say? No. No.
No, Mr. Chairman.
That's okay. Thank you very much indeed, both of you. If you remain there, councillors, Members, do you have any questions for Mr. Green or Mr. Murphy? No? That's it. We will move on now to representation. Oh yeah, if you move back to your seat, please. Sorry. Yep. Yep. Councillors Armstrong and McElduff, you have 5 minutes between you, and I believe Councillor Armstrong is starting first, and then followed by Councillor McElduff. So if you're good to go, Diana, away you go.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members and officers. I'm speaking this afternoon in support of this application at Loop Road, Newton Butler, and I do feel sympathy for the applicants in their efforts to obtain approval. This site has a long history of planning approvals as listed in the correspondence from the agent dating back to 1997. However, as a result of various circumstances, these approvals were not acted upon, and subsequently Mr. and Mrs. Green acquired the site in the belief that planning approval would still be possible. The refusal last year was not called in for further scrutiny, again due to circumstances explained by the agent, and this has led to the application falling under the new local area plan policies, which came into effect in March 2023. The Loop Road is exactly what it says it is, a loop connecting Macrovilli Road to the Clones Road. It's a small rural road off another rural road sited approximately 1.5 miles from Newton Butler. The applicants have been living in rental accommodation for the past 4 years with their young family, and it's their wish to live in this rural setting close to Newton Butler. It's undeniable that the Council's vision and strategic objective in the local development plan is to help rural communities become more resilient, confident and sustainable. And I would contend that a dwelling at this location poses no impact on the environment, and we would be welcome in sustaining the rural dwellers at this location. Indeed, there are exciting regeneration plans currently underway for Newton Butler, with an application for peace funding imminent, which will inject welcome investment and expected economic recovery into this area. Approval in this case will mean that a young family will remain in this rural community and sustain its growth whilst protecting others, their neighbours, against feelings of isolation. Therefore, it meets the tests of policy DEO3. As stated in the officer's report, it also meets the tests of policy DEO4 in terms of integration and design. The test of the modest dwelling as per the plan would be set back off the roadside in similar fashion to the neighbouring dwellings. Having looked at the site...
I'll ask you to finish to let Councillor McElduff in, please.
I will, thank you. Just given the circumstances and history, I would appeal to the committee to consider this case an exceptionality and grant the planning permission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McElduff.
Site-specific comments. I'm very conscious of the history of approvals since 1997. And in the context of this application, am I correct in noting that planners have based their recommendation of refusal on a desktop analysis only? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm just putting that out there.
You can't ask any questions.
Yep.
It's purely a commentary.
Oh, no problem. Rhetorical question. Roadside rectangular plot does integrate very well without adverse visual impact. Hedges, trees, rising landform. I'm struck by the point that the short and narrow frontage of this field, not just the site but the field, does not result in further development opportunities beyond the allowable number, and that helps it to meet the infill test. And listening to Sinead, strong personal circumstances, and this is the only land under their control. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor McElduff. You can withdraw. Adele, you're back in.
I have no further comments on this. Paul, has anything to add?
Thank you very much. Members, any questions then for Adele? Paul?
Nothing further. Just happy to take questions, members.
Right, okay. Members, any questions? Councillor McCann, Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. Just to pick up on comments from Councillor McElduff, maybe he maybe asked an indirect question, but if Ms. Mayor can get that answer, maybe is it just a desktop analysis that was carried out? Just to get some commentary on that, please, Chair.
Adele?
Yeah, it was desktop. Beg pardon, yes, it was a desktop assessment. No site visit was undertaken.
Paul, do you want to say?
Yeah. And I suppose it's just to note the context of that, members, that there has been a number of, there's a recent application previously and quite a history of applications. So officers have been out on the site, very aware of the circumstances. So I suppose we're trying to be more efficient and cut down on site visits where it's not needed. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Commentary just from the chair. Any applications now coming forward have to be made in the light of our planned strategy. We can't backdate anything, even though applications were lodged and validated prior to the adoption of our planned strategy. As you saw from the snippet before, it was direction basically from the department that all decisions are taken in the light of current legislation. So that's what we have to sit. So we have the decision is refusal. If you are going contrary to the officer's recommendation, you actually have to provide proper planning reasons why you're going against and why you believe that you can justify it. Councillor Mahon, David?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points for clarity. Excuse me, a frog in the throat. Was there a previous application refused? Did I pick up that correctly, or was it withdrawn? Is the first question. And secondly, with the crossover to the new policy, whenever applicants put in their applications prior to before the changeover, how were they advised? Will they receive a letter, or how are they advised that the policy may be changing? I just wonder how applicants like this applicant here were advised that the plan may be changing, and it may have an effect on your application, and just like to know that, please.
Right, I'll ask Paul to clarify.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Mahon. I suppose the first point that I'd ultimately make, members, is I think there's a sort of the view seem to be that it's the new plan strategy that's resulting in this application being refused, or previously being refused. And I don't necessarily agree with that. Plan and Policy Statement 2021 ribbon development also only allowed the development of a small gap site of up to 2 dwellings. So it would have been, I suppose, in officer's opinion, it would have been contrary to PPS 21 as well, for the reasons that Adele has already set out. So I don't necessarily agree that the plan strategy is ultimately the policy that's end up refusing this particular project. In terms of the public awareness, look, the local development plan has been ongoing for 7-8 years, the preparation of it. We've been through these issues before. We've published a timetable. There's a requirement for a timetable to be published, which sets out all the various stages, all the key stages. We have met all those key stages. And there's been endless amounts of consultation on the various plan with members, with agents, across the settlements. We've undertaken more consultation than the legislation requires, consultation on various elements of it, proposed changes before IE and then after IE as well. So I suppose it's been coming over the hill for a long time, and I'd be surprised if any planning agents operating in the district wouldn't have been aware of it. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Back in there, Chair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I'm just more on the applicant rather than the agent. Because the applicant, I suppose, is the person that pays the fees for the agents, etc. Was the applicant advised when they, when the application was received, because there might have been a lot of consultation that gone over a period of years, which is understandable, and people in that field might know all about that. But the applicant, it seems to me, possibly only have the one piece of land instead of maybe their first building site, and wouldn't be fully up to speed with all the planning rules, etc. How were they advised? Because they were paying the fee till the council. Were they advised at that time? You're paying a fee here, and it may actually policy may change. Just were they advised or were they made aware of the risk?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And again, this was a public consultation. All the consultations that we undertook were public consultations with a wider public community. But I think there's an onus on planning agents who are acting on behalf of applicants to keep up to speed with what's happening in the local development plan and what the new policies might be. And I suppose it's very difficult for officers because we only got a direction, and until we get a direction, we don't know what the final wording of any particular policy would be. And then we moved fairly quickly after the direction then to adopt. So, and we carried out a further consultation at that stage as well. So, we wouldn't engage directly with specific applicants submitting applications, but certainly there was a wide piece on consultation over a long period of time. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Campbell, Glenn.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to look at the frontage. I know that officers have maintained that there would be room for three sites. But if you look at the block plan that was presented in the accompanying table, we have number 20 sitting at 51.3 and number 24 sitting at 81.9 meters. And what the agent has proposed has been a site of 37.4 and leaving the adjacent gap there of 37.3. The road frontage seems to look reasonable, maybe more than reasonable. It seems to match in quite well. I just wanted officers' views on the frontage, and also the fact that, and I know that the officers aren't suggesting there should be three dwellings in between. They're using that argument to say that there's not just room for two. But I mean, if you were to put three there, you'd be talking around 25 meters adjacent to a frontage of 82 or 81 meters, So I just wanted to maybe query the frontage in terms of the block plan sent through for the officers to respond to that argument, Chairman.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Campbell. I suppose, members, we have discussed the case law surrounding these type of applications previously. What I would say is that the frontage of the site, in the measurements, we're not on it's not a scientific formula here. This is a matter of planning judgment. It's not A plus B equals C. You need to look much wider than just the frontage. You see the pattern of the development's actually set back from the road. And Adele had put up the slides, you maybe put it up again, where the width and the separation between the dwellings is far greater than what it is at the frontage of the road. It's 120 meters. So you need to look beyond just the frontage of the site. You need to look at the size of the sites, the depth, the pattern of the development in the area. And I think, as set out in that slide there, they're in the setback location, which will respect the existing character, there is room for three dwellings. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell, anything further?
No, thank you, Chairman. Just want to query that.
I suppose, Councillor O'Reilly, I was going to make a comment, but I'll let you in, Tom.
Chair.
Right. Look, under HOU 13, which is the policy section that this is being considered, you have two options. You can either have infill or you can have rounding off. And you've got to consider that. What the officers have done basically is they've contextualized it and they have given their opinion within the paper in regard to both sections. If you as members have contrary view and you're trying to formulate that, you'll have to state which section of HOU 13 you're actually trying to address, and then actually provide your arguments, your substantive arguments, how you then can justify under that section. So if you look at the rounding off, there are 8 subsections. On the infill, there are 3 subsections. So all I'm doing is trying to clarify that, because this is an issue that may more than likely come up over the next couple of months with regard to latent applications coming forward. So you will have to address the items for refusal under those 2 subsections and decide which subsection you're trying to address. Tom.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the clarification there. I suppose just picking up on Paul's comments there, while officers have put forward their view, and this isn't a matter of A plus B sort of maths, I'm certainly looking at this, and when you see I think it's the next slide, Sinead, or Adele, with the actual pattern of development that you could have in there. And when you look at the pattern of development that is on both the Knockmakeegan Road and indeed wider, I would put forward the view and wish to put forward the view that two houses does actually fit into this infill site. And taking it on the infill, I would propose that we would go against the recommendation here, and on the basis that this site at 30 some meters will allow two sites that has a pattern of this in the area. And bearing in mind, Chair, that we have a slightly reduced road frontage there, which is well integrated on this narrow country road, which is very much a pattern that is for all the other developments on this. So for that reason, Chair, the infill that I believe that two sites can be accommodated here, I'm proposing that we go against the recommendation and approve planning permission.
Paul? Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Ray. And look, I suppose if that's your professional judgment, then that's fine. And that's one of the tests overcome. The second test, which I think is slightly more difficult, is that there's a requirement for a continuous and built-up frontage. And that consists of three buildings, all in their own separate cottages, and we only have two here, and the gap between them. So it's contrary to that element of the policy. So whilst we may overcome one element, we're not going to be able to overcome that element. There's only two dwellings there, and not the line of three, not a continuous built-up frontage of three. Thanks, Chair.
Tom, do you want to come back?
Well, Chair, while we mightn't have three, we have three entrances along this stretch of the road here, and we have an ability to see the three entrances as part of the frontage going onto the road, Chair.
Paul? Yeah, I suppose I just want to be clear of the policy wording. It requires three buildings, not entrances. So it's three buildings that we need. And there's two buildings there. There isn't a third. There's actually a separation, so it's not a continuous frontage. The continuous frontage only involves the two buildings. And the policy, I suppose the wording of the policy is for buildings and not accesses. Thanks, Chair.
Well, Chair, we have.
Yeah, go ahead, go on.
Yep, we have, while we don't have three buildings directly in that photograph, the building that is just on the corner of that road, that would be just to the right of the one to the right of the yellow star there, does have that. And while it's not directly in a line there with that road, we have it certainly on the corner of that road, which is meters away from that second building.
Sorry, Paul.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'm sorry for pushing this, Councillor O'Reilly, but the policy wording is very clear that it has to be a continuous line, and there's a separation there. I think you actually said it yourself, whilst it's not in a line. So there isn't that continuous line of built-up frontage. Of three buildings, a continuous line of three buildings. There's a separation between number 24 and 30 of 170 meters, and there's no visual linkage at all. So there's only two buildings, number 20 and number 24, that forms a continuous frontage in that road. Thanks, Chair.
I'll come back to you, Tom. Councillor McCann, Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. I'm very sympathetic to the argument that Councillor O'Reilly is putting forward. I'm supportive of the argument, but I just want to go back to something I picked up on during our planning training, Chair. And I wrote down the phrase here, all applications are determined by the LDP, which is this document, unless material considerations outweigh that plan. I'm going to explore that a bit further for a number of reasons. This site, I believe, isn't your run-of-the-mill application that comes before us. There's history to the site, albeit we're determined on what's before us and all the rest. I don't think this is your normal situation that's before us. I'm conscious of the commentary that Sinead made in terms of her occupation. Now, as a district, and this might be outstretching the plan committee, but I'm conscious as a councillor, I'm a councillor for West Tyrone, which is served by the South West Acute Hospital. So them comments that she made in terms of her staffing and her role and her proposal or future plans may be to relocate. And I'm conscious it could be stepping outside what I can do here. But material considerations, what does that actually mean, Paul? All applications are determined by the LDP unless material considerations outweigh that plan. Just get some more information around what they might be.
Yeah, material considerations, and Paul can expand on this, but material considerations are planning related considerations in terms of amenity, access, personal circumstances in some way. Those are all before, and really going back to the training, I think what we said at the training was that both the legislation that's primacy to the area plan, unless material considerations outweigh that. And I suppose it is an option for you members to say that this is contrary to the plan, but the material considerations outweigh that. I think my only concern about that is that the material considerations that you are considering are broad sweeping. They could apply to so many people, and we could find ourselves in this position at every committee where we're sort of setting aside the plan to give significant weight to these considerations. And I think, it's then, and I know there's an objector on this application, and it's the expectation of the objector, of what a rational decision is and what we're weighing up and the weight that we're giving to those material considerations. And maybe Philip can give or offer some advice in that regard, or whether, given weight or significant weight to those issues would be a rational or would be a sound judgment. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And just if I can follow on, please, Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
Can you remind me, Paul, of the plan history on this site? Again, it was here before me, but if you can just remind me what was on that site in terms of previous applications and previous approvals.
Yeah. Set out in detail within the planning statement that was submitted by the agent. So you had applications in 97, 98, 2003. That was followed by a reserve matters in 2006. So that's 3 permissions. Then the 22 application was refused. And then we have the current applications before us.
Anything further, Councillor McCann?
Not just yet, Chair. Just reflecting what I've heard and come back to you in a wee second.
That's okay, thank you. Any further councillors? Councillor Campbell, you're back, Glenn.
So, Chair, just to support, I suppose, the fact that it is unique in that the applicant has put forward I sort of said that this is the only land under the applicant's control, which presumably could be verified, and that there is an investment here already. So I mean, I know that we have to deal with each application separately under the relevant policy, but material considerations, or other considerations, for example, if this was economic related, we'd be talking about the investment, we'd be talking about jobs, but it's not. But it's
Can I cut across you,
so
Councillor Campbell?
I just want to
Just hold on a minute. I think there are issues that the committee may want to discuss before we actually go forward to reaching some sort of decision. And to do that, I think we'd need to go into committee. So if you were happy, I'll take a proposal that we go into committee. I'll ask everybody to withdraw while we, we're seeking specific advice around the policy issues here.
I propose, yeah.
Proposed by Councillor Campbell, second by Councillor Robinson. So we're going to go to committee. Could you suspend the recording, please? I'll ask everybody to withdraw, please. Recording back on again. Yeah, and Councillor Divine Gallagher, would you get everybody back in, please? Get all this stuff, yeah. Thank you. Everybody's back in the room that had been requested to exit. Just a comment from the chair. We were delving into. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I cut across the chief executive.
No, you're fine. It's just to advise that while in committee, the council received legal advice in relation to the draft plan or the plan strategy, this application and associated matters, Chair. So just a proposer and seconder for that update firstly.
Proposed Councillor McCann, second Councillor Thompson. All agreed? Right. Yep. Sorry. We were discussing policy matters and issues and legal matters basically, and that's why it took a rather longer period of time than we wanted. I think there is a proposition coming from the floor, I believe. Councillor McCann, I'll just put you on. Yep.
Just in a nutshell, Chair, given the discussion we've had and discussions prior to going to committee, I would propose we defer this application for further discussions between.
And a site visit?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Councillor Robinson?
Second that.
Yep, okay. Before I put it to the floor, and I'm directing my comments directly towards the agent and the applicants, there are issues raised throughout the discussion, and they were further teased out in the confidential section of the committee, and that is why we are requesting a site visit. But I'm also directing my comments to you, the applicants and the agent, that further discussion is required between our planning officers and the agent in regard to the matters that currently sit with the application for refusal and any other items that could be discussed in regard to issues that are material. So a discussion will now have to take place between the agent and our officers prior to the committee going out on site, if that is the agreement of the committee. So I'm putting it now to the committee. We all agreed with the proposer and seconder? Great, thank you very much indeed. Adele, could you sum up, please?
So members have decided to defer application LA 10 2022 1196-0 for a site visit and for further consideration and for the applicant agent to engage with officers to explore the policy.
Thank you very much indeed. Members, I suggest a comfort break. So could I have a proposer and seconder, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Robinson, all agreed? Back here by 4:15, please. Hang on. I will reconvene. Okay. Right. We're on to item 6. And that is to receive a report on PANs. That's 2 PANs. Councillor McClockery, you've just declared yep, an interest in one of them, so that's it. Adele? Yep, do you want, or Paul? Stop, yeah, there you go, Paul.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, members. So paper C then, members. This is an application in relation to the proposal of application notices. And you'll be aware from previous meeting and our induction that a PAN is required for all major developments. And that must be submitted at least 12 weeks before the application is then submitted. We have 2 PANs to report. One is LA 10 2023-1810, and that's a proposal for a housing development on the former Grosvenor Barracks and then a scale in there. Some members of the planning committee will be aware of that. It's a renewal of a previous permission that has came before the committee before. So second application is LA 10 2023-1862, and that's a proposal for a new split level clubhouse and changing rooms, function room, meeting rooms, lounge bar and other facilities. The split level will be 2 stories, with the lower level being semi-basement. There'll be a new covered all-weather training facility, 3G pitch, and new walking and exercise trails around the perimeter as well. And that site's Enniskillen Rugby Club in Ballinamullard. Papers just for noting, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor McCann.
Happy to propose the note, Chair.
Right, and seconded by Councillor Robinson. Okay, all agreed? Yep. Move on to item 7, and that's just to note the schedule of planning decisions. Paul?
Really just for noting, Chair, and members, you'll see we're sitting decisions issued in June there was 101, and that's sort of up from the previous years, or up from the previous months. So hopefully the transition to the new portal now is somewhat behind us, and we'll get back to business as normal. So that's in and around the level we were at each month before. So thanks, Chair.
Great. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks, Paul, for the report, and a decent report that it is, and I'm happy to propose the note.
Great, thanks very much. Councillor Robinson, Paul? Yep, second. All agreed? All agreed, thank you. We're on to item 8, and that's to consider the performance statistics for the year. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And this is plan and performance statistics for the 22-23 year. And the report was published on the 6th of July. Look, members, there's a lot of details in this, and I'm sure you'll want to work through it all in your own time. I just pull out some of the key messages. In terms of applications submitted then, we had 926 local applications were received over the year, and that was a decrease of 231. So I suppose the trend generally across all the councils is that the applications are reducing, and that may have been a result of the new planning portal going live in December, where the system was actually down for 4 weeks. 967 applications were decided, and that was a decrease of 131 from the previous year. And again, the system was down for 4 weeks, so naturally you would expect a fall. The approval rate for our council there is 98%, so that's 98% of applications that we get approved. Northern Ireland average is 95%. In terms of live applications, then at the end of March 23, there were 474 live planning applications, 96 in the system for more than 1 year. And again, that compares favourably with the Northern Ireland average. Moving on then, just the statistics, members, in terms of major applications, our processing time for the year is 64 weeks. That's down from 110 weeks, so significant improvement. And the council were actually called out in the report there as having the greatest improvement from the previous year. I don't think any councils have made the major statistics met that target. And probably a result mainly, I would think, of consultees and the delays with consultees in some of those bigger projects. So the target for majors is 30 weeks. And we're going in the right direction. Hopefully this year we'll see us meet that target. In terms of local applications then, we're sitting at a processing time of 13 weeks, and that's within the target of 15 weeks. There's only 3 councils in Northern Ireland met the target, and we're the second top council. Mud and East Antrim there is sitting at 8.6 weeks, so they have slightly different delegation and calling arrangements than what we do. So again, we had the most significant improvement from the previous year as well. So in terms of enforcement then, the stats aren't currently available due to a new portal. We're working on that, so hopefully they'll be available soon. You'll see the details there. In terms of other statutory matters, then 45 applications for discharge of planning conditions. We had 81 certificates of lawful development. And in terms of PADs, then we're the second highest council in Northern Ireland for dealing with pre-application discussions, only behind Belfast. We have 72, they have 76. So I think, members, it's a fairly positive report from us. We're going the right direction. I suppose I'd like to thank Darren and Lavina and all the staff and all the teams that's working so hard on it, and yourselves as well, especially for implementing some of the measures like the validation checklist and all, which I think are having an impact, and those have all been agreed through this committee. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Paul. Any questions? No, I need a proposer to note then, please. Proposed, Councillor McGuire, second, Councillor Campbell. All agreed? Agreed, thank you. We'll go on to correspondence. First one from Derry City and Strabane. Siobhan, are you taking that?
Just to note, we've received official formal notification in accordance with the regulations of Derry City Strabane Draft Plan Strategy are beginning their independent examination public hearings. So these will commence on the 5th of September. And while we won't be attending, officers will be keeping a close eye on how things are progressing.
Thank you very much. Proposer to note. Councillor McGuire, Councillor McCann, all agreed. Thank you. Second, we have a bit of correspondence from Flintridge. Siobhan, are you taking that? No, Paul's taking it.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Members, this is correspondence from Flintridge from Brendan Morris, Chief Operating Officer of Galantis Gold, their own Chief Executive. And you'll see the detail within the letter, members, but I suppose the key point is that they're expressing their eagerness to come and meet with the planning committee, debrief them on their operations. And I know we had a full discussion on some of the issues at the last committee meeting, so it may be an opportunity for members to raise some of those issues, and maybe if I could suggest that we would have an informal meeting with the members and invite them along for a discussion with the planning committee. Thanks, Chair.
Right, do you want to mention that?
Chair, it was just, and it is referenced in Mr. Morris's correspondence, so just to advise, the council has agreed, all 40 members that you will meet with Flintridge. I note Mr. Morris indicates that they haven't received an invitation. We did clarify we couldn't convene such a meeting in the pre-election period, and that we were working through the schedule. So just to note, that is still a live request, and I suppose the question is whether members would wish something separate for the planning committee, or if you're content that we would just include those matters and the relevant officers in the wider informal meeting.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to Chief Executive for a clarification on that. I suppose I don't really know big axe to grind as such, but I suppose it would do no harm maybe if we had a meeting with the planning committee, an informal meeting with the planning committee at the first stage, and then maybe out to the full council after that. Sorry.
No, that's fine, Chair, but just in sequencing, we will take the full council first, as that's the current decision that we have. So we have a commitment to progress those, and we can certainly progress the planning committee subsequently.
Okay, I'm happy to propose accordingly. Thank you.
Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. Whenever I first read that letter, I just took it as basically an applicant looking to meet the planning committee, aka the decision makers, and I took maybe stated exception to it. So I'm just maybe stating commentary on it. Is it appropriate to meet this body who will be submitting and has submitted applications to us for them to meet the decision maker directly? I have no issue with meeting the full council as an informal basis, but I would have a concern about meeting the decision makers, primarily not so much about what the discussion, obviously, is perception. It's perception. So I'd have a wee concern about that and maybe invite commentary from that, maybe.
Chair, what we would do in such circumstance, and I think to be fair, that was probably the reason why the original letter had come into the council corporately, because there was maybe a similar view on behalf of the organisation. Members of the planning committee would be available to, or able to attend. They could choose to listen, not necessarily contribute. Equally, members may wish to contribute fully. And if they did so, we would certainly advise that if a future application was to come before the planning committee, members may wish to declare an interest at that point. But it wouldn't be unusual for planning committee members to attend in an observer capacity only, and not to express any views on the operations of the company or any forthcoming applications, and we would have precedent for that as well.
Sorry, Chair. So we could probably, informally meet the group, the company as a full council, which we're all members of. But in terms of meeting as a planning committee,
I personally, it would be an unusual aspect, but it could be facilitated if that's something the council would so, or the committee would so desire. I would have thought you'd have plenty of scope in the meeting with the council rather than needing something additional.
Earl.
Yeah. Taking on board what President McCann, Chief Executive, said, I'm happy to withdraw with regard to the planning committee. I didn't see an issue with it because it was a listening exercise, really. But if others who have an issue with it,
Are you happy just to note the
I propose the noting of the correspondence, and I'm happy enough to go to an informal meeting with
I'm sure Councillor McCann will second. Yep, that's fair enough. That's great. All agreed? Yep, it's noted. Third item is really a notification from Donegal County Council in regard to an adjustment to their draft heritage plan. Paul, do you want to?
Chair, members, this is a notification from Donegal County Council. It's a very narrow notification, and really it's only to the screening report associated with the draft heritage plan, and that preliminary screening report relates to the appropriate assessment. I suppose, members, when we would be replying on these, there wouldn't be sufficient detail to draft a report, but if members were content, we could respond, and the normal procedures will be to advise Donegal Council in relation to these matters to consult with NAA, who are the statutory nature conservation body, for these designated sites, and they can inform the appropriate assessment. I think I'd also just take the opportunity to mention our own adoption of our plan strategy in terms of combination effects, and also just welcome any cross-council discussion on any other matters of mutual interest or planning applications. So if members were content, I could respond on that basis. Thanks, Chair.
Members content, Councillor Maguire proposed and Councillor McCann seconded, all agreed? We'll leave it up to the officers to respond appropriately. Right, no further correspondence, and nobody has come to me with any urgent relevant business. I'm happy to declare the meeting closed, and I wish you all peaceful remainder to the summer, and I look forward to seeing you all again back in September, suitably reinvigorated and ready for the autumn.